Hi friends, it's Vicki Boutin here, and I'm excited to share 5 basic ways that you can use art crayons. I'm going to run through exactly how art crayons work, and then I'm going to show you 5 different ways that you can use them. Isn't that going to be exciting? So if you're new to them, this will all be fresh information. If you had them and loved them for a while, it's just a refresher. And guess what we're going to do? I am challenging you to practice all of these different steps. You can blend them together at the end and make a bunch of 6x8 pages that we're going to add into the free class that will also be another video that I'm shooting. So I'm going to do about 7 different videos using different techniques, using Vicki Boutin art products through American Crafts, and then we're going to put it all together in that free class where we're going to bind it all. So please make sure that you are subscribing to Vicki Boutin, the Vicki Boutin channel, and make sure that you like and comment. I want to hear from you. You know I love the community, so make sure you're commenting. I'm still watching. Make sure you're commenting. Is there anything you'd like me to answer? Because my friends, I'm here for you. Let's make some mixed media and artful technique magic. So get ready. The video's going to start, and you're going to see 5 different ways that you can use Vicki Boutin Art Crayons. Yay, happy dance! Okay, my friends, let's get started. So, dirty, arty hands, no pretty manicure, but this is because it's the nitty-gritty. We're going to talk about the basics and the basics of one of my favorite products in my Vicki Boutin line with American Crafts, art crayons. So I am showing you the 3 boxes of the colors that they come in. This is the newer packaging, older packaging. Same product. I wanted to show you the 3 different ones so when you see it, you know this isn't a different product. It's just different packaging, same product. We have 3 color families that these art crayons come in. You have a cool set, a warm set, and a neutral set. And they are all kinds of awesome. So let's open the packages up so you can see what they're all about. And then we're going to talk about 5 different things you can do using Vicki Boutin art crayons. So here's how, I have 5 different containers of art crayons sitting around because I love to use these, but I also like everything to look nice and pretty. So I have this kitty cat mug and a bunch of art crayons in here in all of the color families. So this is what they look like out of the package. I'm going to set this aside, and then let's start with the cool set. So the cool set has 8 crayons in it, and this isn't a brand new set, but it's what I could find. And you have your greens, a turquoise, blues, and purples. And that is the cool set of crayons. And then we have, set these guys aside, the warm set of crayons. Again, same product. If you find it in this packaging or in this packaging, we changed it to this funky black packaging that I love. So this is the warm set. In here you have a pink, red, some yellows, rustier red, oranges, and a neutrally peachy color. So that is the warm set. And then this is the neutral set. And these I always say, don't poo-poo the neutrals because you need these to create depth and lighten colors. You have a black, you have a white, a gray, a bunch of browny colors. This green is lovely, a dark blue, and a greeny brown, and then an orangey brown. I love this set, and other people love it too, because you'd be surprised what you can do with a neutral set. So now we know what they look like. Let's talk about what they do. So an art crayon, Vicki Boutin art crayon, is a water-soluble, like an oil pastel, but it's obviously not oil or it wouldn't blend with water. You can do a whole bunch of different things with these, and now I'm going to show you 5 different things we can do with Vicki Boutin art crayons. So friends, this is a reality of what my art crayons look like because they are well-loved little beauty sticks. and you can use it like a full crayon. You can also use it till there's nothing left. There's tons of pigment in these, and they will create beautiful art regardless if they're pretty and just out of the package or if they're broken and well loved. I'm really hoping your set starts to look like this, because then I know you're using it. So we're going to do 5 different things using these art crayons, and we're going to start with just showing you what it looks like on a piece of paper. So with this, if you just put it on like a crayon, see, it looks like oil pastel. You can rub this and it will blend. So you have that effect that you can use just straight out of the crayon. If you put it on here and then try to blend it with your paintbrush, this is the effect that you will get. And again, it depends if it's on a background that has gesso on it, or if it's on a matte acrylic gel background. It depends what your paper is like on a watercolor. So if you went in here and then try to blend this, you can move it around because they're always going to remain open. This will never set. If you put water on an art crayon, you're going to move the pigment around, even if it's been sitting there for a month, okay? So that just gives you an idea, but there is a softness to it that you can blend it. If we put it on a gesso background, and let's see if I have one handy and I can show you what that looks like on gesso. Okay, I found one. So this is gesso on just a plain old, very inexpensive sheet of cardstock. And let's look at what it looks like when we put it on the gesso and blend it. So this just will give you a little bit more freedom for the blending, like you would use a chalk pastel. That's really pretty because it's not soaking into this porous paper. Look at my fingers dirty. So this is just straight paper, and it kind of stops moving, where you have a little bit more movement on top of the gesso. So let's see what it looks like if we take it straight out of the crayon and blend it with water. You're going to get a different effect on gesso. All these mediums will sit differently, or any medium will sit differently on top of gesso as opposed to straight pattern or cardstock. See, I'm not going to get the movement. It starts to soak up. You can start pilling the paper if you move it around too much, but I just want you to have the idea of what, oh, it's pretty though. Look at that wicking effect, because all the product sits on top of the gesso instead of soaking into the paper. Art crayon is like an oil pastel. It's blendable. It's always going to remain open. So if I go even on the bit that I dragged around with my finger and start moving it around, I can. Okay, it is not going to set. Now let's see what happens, just throwing these out of the way, on a piece of foundations paper, which is one of the items in the Vicki Boutin line. It's 140-pound weight paper, smooth and white, and it's called foundations paper. So let's find that red crayon that I've lost now. Oh, found it. And let's look at this right out of the crayon on foundations. Again, just blending with my finger. You get lots of movement, and it will move while you're rubbing it until it can't go anywhere else. Okay, which can be a really pretty technique. This could be in a stamped image, or you could do a bunch of polka dots and then stamp on top, but that's straight out of the crayon. This is out of the crayon with water, which I never do this. I'm going to show you how, if we want to make water color effects, how we would do it. But you're going to find the memory of the paper is going to keep that line on there. It's already in the fibers, so you can't really blend it out. So this is not how I use art crayon when I want to do watercolor. I do not apply it to the paper and then try to move it around. I'm going to show you how I use this when I want to create watercolor. So next technique. Are you ready for it? So I prepped bases that I'm going to do these techniques on, and at the end of this series of videos, so I'm going to be filming 5 different videos using Vicki Boutin products, And then I'm going to take 6x8 size and make them into a junk journal. So using my practice sheets and then making something functional out of it. And that will be in the free class that I will be offering at the end of this series. So I've prepped foundations paper in a 6x8 and a few sheets of, it's at the bottom here, watercolor paper. And I use Prima watercolor paper. So whatever you can find. And these are in 6x8. So anything I'm going to do is going to be either 6x8 or smaller. And I'm going to show basic techniques using the art crayons. And then I'm going to elevate these and do a few different fun things that I can then make a recipe book or a junk journal or make these into a mini album. But these are the bases we're going to be using. And let's start with the first technique, which is going to be watercolor with the art crayons. I like to apply this with a sheet of plastic. So this is the tool I'm going to be using. It could be a palette. I could use it as my palette. I can use it as a watercolor tool. You also need a paintbrush and water. To take these techniques and apply it directly to a plain background can be a little tricky, right? It's intimidating. And I really want to show these techniques for somebody who's never touched this stuff before, all the way up to somebody who's advanced with artful techniques or mixed media techniques. So let's get started. I have my sheet of plastic. I have the base that I'm going to apply my technique on, and I have a couple of art crayons here. So let's go in maybe with purple. Let's do a purple because you'll really be able to see the color. And like I said, I'm using the broken one. You could, oops, and dropping stuff on the floor. Let me pick it up. I'm going to start with a purple. And like I said, it's a broken crayon. I'm not pressing too hard. If I was using a brand new crayon, I wouldn't want to press really hard with this because your crayon will break. Not that it matters because I'm obviously using just a tiny little piece. But I applied some color on here. And then the magical thing with doing watercolor techniques is all about controlling your pigment and the amount of water you use. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start blending. Look at how beautifully they blend. So I'm going to blend and I want this to flow around. So this is like the packaging technique. I call it the kissing technique because I think that sounds like more fun. So I always say when you do this and apply it, you want to make sure that it's flowing around. If you don't apply enough water to your pigment, you're going to get an effect when you flip this to kiss it. You're going to get something that looks like a stamped effect, and we don't want that. We want it to be a pretty and ethereal, like watercolor, okay? So I say more water rather than not enough water. And look it's flowing around. I want you, when you do this technique, to practice this multiple times because practice really, it's not perfection we're going for, but I always say practice and play to get the results that you want. And then I'm bending the card, right? So that I can then apply pigment in a pretty watercolor effect. So that is the first thing you can do with art crayons is create watercolor effects. It's beautiful. So the second way, not fourth, second way I can use these art crayons is with my stencil brush, so I can use it dry like an ink. So let's pick some colors here, and I'm using my sheet of plastic, which is a handy tool that I actually cut from the front of my foundations paper. So when you have your paper pad, don't throw that sheet away. So let's go in here. What color can we pick? We used purple last time. Let's pick something out of the cool set. Maybe this pretty blue one. So it comes, oh, actually, we just used purple. So I lied. Let's use a different color. How about the pink? We'll go in with the pink. So I'm going to create a palette here on this sheet of plastic. The other thing, when you buy the stencil brushes, make sure you don't throw away the little plastic sheet that comes in the back of the stencil brush. It's a little bit smaller than this, but it is your palette for adding color and a tool for doing watercolor techniques. When you find the stencil brushes, come in 2 different sizes. I'm grabbing the other one. I had it here, so just a sec. I have my project cart over here with everything on it. They come 2 in a set, a little one and the bigger one, okay? So to apply this like a ink or in a softer effect, a dry effect, you will take your stencil brush and at 90 degrees, that's 90, right? In a circular motion, just load all that pigment into your stencil brush. So see, it's all off my mat and now it's on my stencil brush. And I can go in here and then start applying. Look how pretty that is. And again, you just build pigment like you would with anything like this, is just by loading it and reapplying it. Okay, so instead of inking your edges, you can use the same product, the art crayons, and just create this pretty soft effect with art crayon and a stencil brush. I can't guarantee every stencil brush will work the same, but like I say, just try it. Give it a try. It's not going to hurt anything, right? So that is the second thing, not fourth thing. Second thing we can do with the art crayons is stencil brush. Use it on a mat or on your craft mat. Load your stencil brush, and then just put it on your background. Now get ready. Part 3, the third thing, is going to be the second step using the similar technique. So I can't wait to show you. So now I've grabbed a stencil. Remember, the artwork is all created for us in these beautiful stencils. So this is one of those things that I can never have enough of, stencils and stamps. I can make beautiful art by using somebody else's beautiful art to make my beautiful mixed media or artful techniques. And don't forget, everything we're doing here is just showing you the basics so it doesn't get overwhelming. And then you can decide how you want to use this. It could be for scrapbooking, card making, whatever you want to do. So let's go in, and now I'm going to pick that blue I talked about before. And because my stencil brush is dirty, I probably am going to get a little bit of purple, but I'm okay with that because these two colors will work beautifully together. Same thing, I'm going to load the stencil brush. And then I'm going to hold my stencil in place. And if you have trouble with this, just take some washi tape or take some painter's tape and just hold it down so your stencil doesn't move. This is one of the most forgiving techniques because we're using dry mediums, so you will get a beautiful effect and it's not going to bleed under your stencil. It will be nice and crisp using the stencil brush and the art crayon. Get ready for it. Are you ready for the magic? I can't wait to show you. Look how pretty that is, my friends. So if you're like out there going, watching this video because Vicki's funny and I like watching her, but I don't like doing artful techniques or mixed media, this is aha and magic for everyone. Isn't that super pretty? I love it. Super easy technique. So art crayon dry with a stencil brush, and then we can put it on our background and get these beautiful effects, and it's not a lot of mess because all of this wipes up and right off your hands just with soap and water. So now let's do it. Oh my goodness, Vicki. Number 3. Number 3 is coming next. So guess what I'm grabbing? Another stencil, and I want to show you. Look at how dirty that stencil is, but we'll pretend. Flip it to the other side and you can't see my mess. I'm going to take art crayon that's already on here and make it into watercolor. Let's move this out of the way so I'm not spraying it. Just by misting my brush. Now don't over mist because if it's too wet, it will bleed under your stencil. Although that's a cool technique too. But I want you to show that we have just now made the art crayon that's on this brush into watercolor because it is water reactive. It will blend and make watercolor. So now I'm going to put it through another pattern of stencil and show you what you get. Oh my goodness, get ready, my friends, for amazingness. So you would have wiped this on a baby wipe or a paper towel, but look at the beautiful effect you get by just adding a little bit of water, and it just deepens that color and gives you really an inky effect. Isn't that pretty? So that is number 3, the third way that we can use art crayons. And now let's look at number 4. So number 4, another magical thing these art crayons can do, and this is not new information to a lot of you, but for some of you, you've never heard of me before, and you have no clue what art crayons can do, but now you're intrigued, and this one is going to blow your mind. So I'm just taking one of my stamps. This was from the Wildflower and Honey set. Whatever stamps, I don't care what you use, but you're just going to throw it on your stamp block, and I'm going to show you something magical. So I have to dig in my dirty pile of art crayons here, and let's find, does it matter if I'm using a different color? I don't want you guys to be sad because I'm not using the rainbow. So let's just go in with pink and yellow and blue on here. So you can, are you ready for it? Color on a stamp and then stamp with it. So I can take it completely dry and then just apply some color on my stamped image, or my stamp, to stamp the image. You don't want a ton of art crayon on here, okay? So be careful that you don't press too hard. And I'm going to show you a couple variations. Using the side of the crayon is actually kind of magical because it makes applying it really easy. So I'm going to take this, and I have another sheet of foundations, and I'm going to show you 2 variations of this technique. So now I have art crayon on here that we know is water reactive, right? I'm going to mist on here, and then guess what I can do? I can stamp. So the more water you use, the more it'll flow around. I could, without even re-inking this, stamp another image. But I want you to show you, I'm so excited I can't even speak, that I could keep misting and keep stamping a whole bunch of these. Let's do the whole thing. We'll have a whole background. First impression and then some different ghost impressions, right? And then I'm going to show you something else that is also awesome. This is one of my favorite things. Stamping with art crayons. Okay, so let's do variations, because I'm like trying to do, oh, look how pretty this is, because that's going to be a page in my book. I'm going to fill in some of that space. And you know, with what I'm showing you guys, that more will come. There are tons of techniques that we can do, but I think we need to start with the basics, right? And that's a basic, and look how beautiful that is. Let's clean this up. So we've stamped now with art crayons, and now I want to show you a variation on that because we're talking about stamping. Let's just wipe this off. I'm not doing a deep clean. Show you on that original. Oh, let's go in here. Let's build a layer. So we have our kissed background of watercolor, and now let's color this up in, again, I could pick different colors, but I'm just grabbing what I have, okay? I could take this now and wet the crayon. And then you can come in here with the wet crayon as well. Or, and let's stamp one like this. So the wet crayon just makes this, it'll be a lot looser. It won't be a perfect result. It'll be more loose watercolor. And you still can go on and give that a blast. And where are we going to stamp? Maybe they're going to kind of cascade down the page. Look how pretty. So see how now that is looser, like a watercolored flower. We could also take that and put the art crayon on our sheet of plastic and make kind of a stamping area. So let's throw a little bit of the blue in here. Take a paintbrush, if I can find one, because now I have a mess all over my desk. And then start to create this loose watercolor stamping. So take that, and it's okay, I don't want perfection here. I want this kind of pretty, wet watercolor stamp. Oh, look how pretty that is, friends. Let's get some more of the gray color from the neutral set on there. Missed that. And maybe do one off the side. Look how beautiful that is. I love it. So there's another use for the art crayons. Here comes one more. I'm going to share one more idea. So another thing you can do with the art crayons is traditional coloring. So I can stamp an image, and I'm going to stamp this, and I'm hoping my stamp pad is wet because I'm noticing I broke the bottom of it while I was traveling. And I'm going to stamp an image on, this is on watercolor paper. It's not the best, but until I can find a nice juicy ink, this will work. So like I said, this is great stamping ink. It's just my pad is broken on the bottom, so it's dried out. But it's okay, it's all right. I can still show you what I want to do. So let's create my palette, right? I just deposit some different shades of art crayon onto my sheet of plastic. Maybe some orange. I haven't showed you orange. What else is in this mad pile? Let's go with this light blue. It's really pretty too. Look at that. It's janky. Okay. So take my paintbrush and make watercolor. And then I can start to color. Look how pretty. So what's awesome, if you guys have noticed, this is one product that does all these different things. So I don't have to have ink and different things to create beautiful art. And that's why I love the art crayons. Tons and tons of different uses with one product. So pretty. And look at all of the pigment load in there. You get tons of pigment out of these art crayons. So let's make this. I'm not being a master colorer. I just want to show you what you can do. Okay? So look, isn't that pretty? And you'll get a whole different effect when you use the watercolor paper. It just accepts water beautifully. So there we go, my friends. Yet another way to use art crayon. I love them. So to recap, 5 awesome things you can do with art crayons. You can use them dry with a stencil brush to do a beautiful coloring effect. You can use them dry through a stencil to have that pretty effect, very soft and not super messy. Then we can also mist the end of the stencil brush and get that pretty watercolor stenciling. We can do typical watercolor where we just kiss a sheet of plastic to a background. And then we also can do watercolor stamping where we can color directly on the stamp and make these beautiful stamped images. And we can also stamp into watercolor to create beautiful stamped images. And traditionally, you can use the art crayons to do watercoloring with stamped images. How much fun is that? So if you are looking for something fun to use, or you have it and you didn't know what to do with it, these are the art crayons, and these are just a few of the things you can do using them. Oh, so excited. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to make. Wasn't that fun, my friends? And it's easy. I know you guys can do it. So that was just 5 basic ways to use art crayons. Now the next step is elevating those techniques and putting it into mixing them together or mixing them with other products. But this is a great place to start. And if you would like, come and join me on my Facebook page at Vicki Boutin Artist page on Facebook. And we do Facebook Lives, and we're going to take these techniques now, and I'm going to do a whole separate live video where I mix the techniques of these 5 steps together to create a whole bunch of pages that we're going to add into that class that's going to come at the end of this series. So join me again for the next step in this series of videos using the next Vicki Boutin product. I can't wait to see what you guys are making. And of course, like and subscribe so I can get all of the feedback in the comments section, and anything that you need help with or any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer. Thanks for joining me, guys.